Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be discussing the financial assistance and the free benefit. Many know the to benefit for individuals who unfortunately were laid off or found themselves unemployed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. What we currently see now is we've had over 9,800 people who were on the unemployment benefit. The majority of those individuals couldn't earn the benefit, while under half of those individuals have gone back to work. We've had two extensions of the benefit. We've moved it from 12 to 16 weeks and then from 16 to 18 weeks to ensure that persons had the required assistance that they need as they had faced hard times. As a result of the unemployment benefit coming to an end, we will be transitioning into two benefits. One would be individuals will be transitioning on to financial assistance for those that qualify, and then the other benefit will be a supplementary benefit for those that do not qualify for financial assistance but are deemed to have financial need. And this time I want to stress that it's important that the government wants to ensure that all those that are in need get the assistance that they require. We recognize that the economic impact of this pandemic has had negative impacts on people's livelihoods, and as a result we want to ensure that whatever benefit we have moving forward are for those who genuinely have need. And so all individuals moving forward will go through a means test. Financial assistance will conduct that means test, and as I said, those individuals that qualify for FA will go on FA. Those that don't will qualify for a supplemental benefit. Many have asked why should they even go through financial assistance. And I think financial assistance is the best vehicle to ensure that persons have needs or actually are in need of funds. What we saw in the old system, the old unemployment benefit that we are transitioning from, it didn't take into consideration a person's means. The benefit was just given based on the person being ineligible to work. However, we do not have a limited pool of funds, and so resources need to be allocated to those who need resources most. I am also aware that persons have concern in terms of the rigorous process for financial assistance, but the process is rigorous purposefully, and we want to ensure that we do our due diligence on the front end rather than having wastage on the back end. We have encouraging applicants to ensure that they complete all FA applications to 100% fullness. We also want you to know that you can pick up your applications from the first floor of the Global House office. It should also be stated that Bermudians and spousal Bermudians will be the only individuals who are eligible for the benefits. Unemployed gas workers who remain unemployed should be in a position where they're making plans to return to the home countries. This is not the government kicking individuals off the island, but individuals are invited to Bermuda to work. If they are unable to work, then the government cannot continue to provide assistance to those particular individuals. I know that many people have questions regarding FA and the supplemental benefit, and at this time I will just take the questions that individuals have so I can provide clarity on the way forward. And so what we ultimately aim to do, if persons are unfamiliar with FA is a benefit where you have a 60-month time period to remain on FA, but as we're transitioning in FA, we want to ensure that we provide the necessary resources so that persons get gainfully employed. And that's the other portion of what we're trying to do within the ministry. We're trying to create opportunities for persons to re-enter the workforce. We've heard the stories of Bermudians remaining out of the workforce while their guest worker counterparts are being retained in jobs. I'll address this at further press conferences, the conduct of some employers, and we've also heard where employees have decided not to return back to work to remain on the benefit. We find that to be unfortunate, and we encourage all persons, if you have an opportunity to return back to work, to return back to work, so that you are not pulling resources from individuals who genuinely need the assistance during this particular time.
Okay. If I'm approved for the supplemental employment benefit, how long will that last?
At this point, we are having an initial duration, so it will be in durational phases. I think the first duration will be probably to the end of December, and then prior to that expiration, we'll make a decision in terms of how long we extend that particular benefit to. But what residents can be guaranteed is that the government will continue to assist you during your period of hardship.
Why do I have to apply for financial assistance when I was already on the unemployment benefit? Couldn't I just switch over automatically?
No, and so you have to apply to financial assistance so you can be means tested. And let me just give you some scenarios. You have wealthy persons who receive the unemployment benefit. You had persons who have large amount of money in their bank accounts when they receive the particular benefit. This benefit is for those that are actually in need of it. We also are moving to a period where we're looking at household assessments. So if you have 3 working adults in your household and you're the only working adult not in your household, we will determine that your household may have the means to support you. We realize that these are difficult economic times, but the government doesn't have an unlimited pool of funds. We're really trying to get assistance to those people who need it most. Additionally, the supplementary benefit will ensure that persons have some sort of health insurance coverage moving forward. We have to realize that we're still in a healthcare crisis, and the worst case scenario would be for individuals to be unemployed, uninsured, and then need emergency medical assistance without health insurance.
Okay. What are the requirements to qualify for financial assistance? And if denied, what are the requirements to qualify for the supplemental unemployment benefit?
So all of those requirements will be stated when you pick up your package from FA, and within your document package, they would ask you for all the supporting documentation. They will do an actual means test. So it varies from person to person when they determine what your means actually are, what your level of income actually are, or actually is, or your household income. So it's not one size fits all. It is a general means test on individual circumstances.
Okay, so this next question is probably answered by what you just said, but it was how much dollars and assistance will be provided under each and for how long?
So financial assistance varies based on your needs. The supplemental benefit, we're still working out the calculation of what that will look like. We're trying to build in the insurance component into the benefit.
Okay, can there be a different sign-up form for hotel workers who just want temporary help, or is there a form specifically just for hotel workers?
No, unfortunately, hotel workers are not unique from other workers that find themselves in economic hardship right now. And so all workers will have to go through the exact same process to receive the benefit.
Okay. So let me just read out this one here. So there's a lot of young Bermudians who work in the hospitality industry. You have some that still live at home, where the house is already paid off, with their retired parents, but have financial responsibilities, bank loans, utility bills, medical bills, etc. Does one still qualify in that instance for financial assistance?
So it will be, you have to go through assessment. So I can't tell you who qualifies and who don't qualify. And that's the importance of getting assessed. being assessed will determine what your needs actually are and whether or not you would actually qualify for some form of assistance moving forward. And so that's why it's important that everybody goes through a means test.
Okay. Another question is, will government support young Bermudians that may experience redundancy in the near future? So will government make an effort to partner with local companies to help regain employment?
And that's certainly what we're aiming to do and in the process of doing. Not just aiming to do, but we have some things in the works. What we're actually trying to do is build greater relationships with employers and work with employers to get people back into the workforce. We can't have sustained long-term unemployment in this country for young persons nor more mature populations. And so what we're actually doing is going to roll out a back-to-work strategy. And so one initiative we have worked with cleaning companies, and they have agreed to take on 2 individuals a year. But that is something small. But we're looking at more large-scale initiatives that will get people back to work. The areas we're looking at, we do have a number of areas where opportunities where companies are still looking for persons on work permits, and we're looking to transition some persons and unemployed persons into those job fields. I think there is also greater opportunity to transition some of the hotel workers that we know will be on long-term unemployment to other employment opportunities. We discussed that in the tripartite forum, and we will actually be working with the hotels in terms of re-skilling people for additional occupational fields. But it's not necessarily that persons need to be retrained. Sometimes it's just that persons need the opportunity, and we will ensure that we have those opportunities. Within the coming weeks, I'll release a full strategy on how we'll ensure that we provide support to persons to get them back to work.
For an unemployed spouse of a Bermudian, financial assistance requires that Bermudians to complete the paperwork and submit their financial information. What happens if the spouse declines to provide the information needed to submit the application?
If that's a very tricky one. If you require assistance, but you are unable to provide the information that's required to do a proper assessment of your needs and your income, then unfortunately you won't be able to move forward with receiving a benefit. You need to ensure that you provide all the necessary information so that due diligence can take place and that a proper decision can be made.
And similar question about a non-Bermudian spouse submitting the application without the spouse's financial information.
I think that is highly unfortunate that a spouse would not release their information so that their partner can receive a benefit.
Okay. Now, what if you automatically do not qualify for financial assistance? Example, that you earn a home. Do you still have to fill out the financial assistance forms if you are still unemployed? As the main wage earner in my family, I have been unemployed since April 1st, and I'm currently unemployed. And it does not look like I will be employed for quite some time as I work in the hotel industry.
I recognize persons are in real unfortunate situations, but what I don't want to get persons get too caught up on is whether or not they qualify for FA. I want persons focus on the fact that you would have to be means tested to determine what benefit you will receive moving forward, whether it's FA or the supplemental benefit.
Okay. What will be the next step if someone is denied financial assistance and the landlord doesn't accept financial assistance?
I don't understand that question. So, if somebody has been granted the right to be on financial assistance, but their landlord does not accept financial assistance, I don't think that landlords can refuse to receive money from their tenants. And I would ask if that situation ever occurs, that they report that particular situation. I think that both landlords and homeowners need to be flexible during this time. They need to realize that the economic situation in Bermuda is changed, We are living in what we call a new normal, and the new normal is one that has harsher economic realities, and so persons need to be a bit more flexible moving forward in terms of how the relationships they have with their tenants.
Okay, what is the status update of issuing work permits that are presumably approved because there are no Bermudian applicants?
So if the application comes in and there are no Bermudian applicants, then the likelihood is that that work permit will be approved. There is no valid reason to deny a work permit where there is no Bermudian applicants. All that does is create further harm to the country and the economy.
Okay. This person just wants to know, where do they pick up the forms, the application forms?
So the forms can be picked up at Global House on the first floor, and the form packages are ready for persons to pick up. And persons should have some ID with them when they pick up the forms.
Okay. Are taxi drivers eligible for assistance?
Everybody is eligible to apply for assistance. You'll be means tested to determine whether or not you'll receive assistance.
What is the likelihood that someone will be denied both financial assistance and the supplementary employment assistance?
There are some persons that will be denied both, and that would mean that it has been determined that they don't meet the criteria under the means test, and they don't. It would be determined that they don't need the benefit. Everybody in Bermuda is not on the same boat, and we have to be very straight up about that. We have very wealthy people who were receiving the unemployment benefit, and unfortunately, those people will not be receiving the benefit moving forward. We're transitioning into a period where we have to provide assistance to those people who generally need it to maintain at least a basic standard of a quality of life. And so what we can do is ensure continue to outlay our resources on persons who actually don't need government assistance.
Okay, I'd just like to take a moment to thank the audience for sending in their questions, and just send a reminder that we're welcome to answer to provide questions that you may have, and the minister will do his best to answer them. So another question we have is, what is the situation with vulnerable persons? Should they be back to work, or are they still being shielded?
I'm not sure to which job categories that person is referring to, but if they can discuss the specific job category, I'll be able to provide an informed answer. But Bermuda has probably the strongest testing regime in the world, and so there is very limited community transition, and so the scope of persons returning back to work should be greater. Only under extreme circumstances where persons' doctors have advised them that they shouldn't be out and about in public, should they have to make arrangements with their particular employer. But persons do not have an unlimited license to remain home. This pandemic is not over. There is no vaccine in sight, and so persons who cannot physically go into the workplace should make the provisions to work from home.
Are there any other plans in the works to assist these persons that are unemployed?
So we're going to provide a financial benefit, and I've stated that within the coming weeks we'll roll out back to work strategies to get persons gainfully employed. Our ultimate aim in the Ministry of Labor is to ensure that we have Bermudians gainfully employed in Bermuda, and so that's where our energy would actually focus. But it's very difficult right now to talk about gainful employment of individuals when we still see contraction of the workforce in our economy. And so you find that employers are continuing to contract their workforce. They're continuing to make employees redundant. So we have a new wave of persons who are unemployed. And I want to say anybody who has been made redundant recently can also apply for future benefits.
Okay. This person is asking, can you clarify on the backlog of approved work permits and when we should be expecting them to be issued? Like, what is the expected timeline?
There's no backlog of work permits.
Okay. This person is asking, what is the government plan for those sectors who are freelance business consultants who may need supplementary assistance?
They would have to do the same process of applying through the FA process.
Okay. Let me just go through this. What happened? So this person is asking, what happens if a work permit has got a few weeks unemployment benefit and now he's leaving the island? Will it continue because he was protected when the application was filed due to the border closing?
The answer to that question is no. Once a person is no longer has an active work permit, then no benefit will be due to that individual.
Okay. This person is asking, is there a website that application forms can be downloaded if persons cannot physically go to collect? Not to my knowledge.
Not to my knowledge, but what we can do is see if that particular person can send in an email and the documents can somehow be scanned and supplied to the individual. But I think the way in which the documents are structured, they will still need to be printed off and scanned back.
And there's also, they can contact the Department of Financial Assistance.
Correct.
Directly, and I'll get the number for that in a minute, and I'll post it into the comments so that people can see what that number is. I just want to remind the listeners and those watching to submit your questions to the minister for answering.
But I can't stress enough that what we're ultimately trying to do is provide support to individuals, recognizing the financial constraints that the government actually has. But still continue to provide benefit to people. And my view is that it is our responsibility to ensure that persons have the basic necessities to survive in this particular economy. And so we will ensure to provide resources to people that actually need it. You would have heard from the Minister of Finance that he has to go back to the market to borrow large amount of money. We're talking about over $1 billion. And so that should give everybody an eye opener in terms of the country's economic reality. And we know it's going to be difficult, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to cushion the economic blow as best as we possibly can. And the answer to that is provide people with financial support that actually need it. So the number for the financial assistance hotline is 297-7867. And so persons who can't come in and pick up a form should dial that particular number for further assistance.
And adjustment come to the comments. So another question, what if a Bermudian applies for a job, but the resume doesn't match the job description? Will the permit be granted or denied?
If someone applies for a job, but the resume demonstrates that they don't have the qualifications for the job, the likelihood is that the work permit application will be approved because the Bermudian applicant will be deemed to be not suitable or qualified for that particular job. And it's a balance that we have to strike. We don't want to cripple businesses by denying them the resources they need to be effective. But we also want to encourage business growth so we can so that they can actually expand their operations and we can get more people back to work. And so that's the balance that we're actually trying to make. But we don't take approvals from a laissez-faire approach. We have due diligence to ensure that suitable Bermudians are not that if there are suitable Bermudians, they get an opportunity to be gainfully employed in that particular career field.
Okay, the next question is, my job as an audio-visual and lighting technician doing weddings, corporate events, concerts, and stage shows doesn't look like it will be getting back to sorts until next year. I live with someone who's working. Will I be able to receive financial assistance until I get work next year?
You'll be tested, and if you move or you prove through the means test process, certainly you will receive a benefit moving forward. In terms of financial assistance, like I said, it's a 60-month maximum payout. However, we want to try to transition persons back to work before that 60-month expiration. For the supplemental benefit, I think at minimum we'll provide the benefit to the end of December, and then we'll do analysis to see how long we'll continue the benefit. These benefits have financial implications. We recognize that the government has fiscal position is under somewhat of what we continue to consider to be fiscal stress, and so we have to be mindful of the decisions we make moving forward. But the aim is to ensure that persons that need a benefit actually receive it.
Okay. This person is asking, should a Bermudian with a UK culinary diploma who is not currently employed contact the Department of Workforce Development first before seeking employment within the hotel industry? And this person is returning to the island. They're not currently in the island.
I think all unemployed persons should go and have an appointment at Workforce Development so that Workforce Development can assist them in transitioning back into the workforce. And so your credentials will be noted, and when jobs do come open, you'll come open, you'll be flagged for. You can flag those particular jobs that are in alignment with your resume. But sometimes we have to make decisions in terms of persons transitioning to jobs that are not in alignment with their particular resume, and that's what we'll be doing at Workforce Development, where persons can't find jobs in their particular occupational category that is in alignment with their education and experience. We have to provide strategies to transfer persons into other occupational categories, and that's what we'll be focusing on in the coming weeks.
Okay. Next question is, will there be a watchdog committee set up to monitor and make sure that Bermudians are given preferences for jobs?
I believe that's what we do through the work permit process. But when we're talking about persons returning back to work, I will make a strong statement to employers this evening regarding when they have an opportunity to return back to work, and they're returning their guest worker staff over the Bermudian staff. That is extremely unfortunate, and I'll make it clear that the expectation is that the Bermudian staff get a fair shake at returning back to work.
Okay. This next person is asking, if a person cannot work from home and their employer is not willing to put in place conditions that make it safe to return to work, what is the worker's recourse?
That's difficult, and each situation is unique, and I don't want to know that person's medical particulars, so I can't really provide information on that particular situation.
Okay. There's been a lot of things people making comments thanking you for your efforts, your hard work, professionalism. Just going to read one. It says, Minister, you are handling this unemployment benefits with such professionalism. We know you. We know our earn can and will bite the hardest. Stay awake. Stay awake.
Yeah.
Next question. Good afternoon, Minister. I went to the government office today to pick up an application for financial assistance for someone else and was told that the persons will have to pick up the application themselves. They are not able to collect. I thought it was mentioned that the application can just be picked up. Please clarify.
And so I'll ask for that person to provide me with specific details. But what I believe is happening is not just picking up an application, but persons are registering who is picking up applications so that we can have a proper monitor of the numbers, the demographic information, so that when we move forward with assessments and estimates, we have the accurate information. But if a person is able to physically come in and pick up that application, I can have further dialogue to see what provisions are in place for those particular individuals.
Okay. Now, just so the listening audience, as a reminder, we were supposed to end at 1:30. I have a few more questions, sir. If the minister is willing, we'll proceed with answering these questions.
Certainly.
And a few more until, I guess, until the minister has other pressing matters to attend to, I'm sure. All right, so good afternoon, Minister. There needs to be a cross-check that the person that currently holds the job meets all the qualifications and actually does the job as described in the work permit renewal, so as not to inflate the actual position and deterring Bermudian applicants from getting their job.
And so what we're going to do, what I'll announce this evening is the immigration hotline where persons can contact that hotline, and persons are working outside of the provisions within that are aligned with their work permit, then those individuals should be reported. I think we have to sharpen up workplace compliance and enforcement, and we plan to do so. Right now, there is a great demand for jobs in this particular country, and we shouldn't take for granted that we have large portions of Bermudians unemployed, and if we have to tighten our belt in terms of compliance, that's what we would actually do.
Okay. And Minister, I think one thing we should definitely reiterate to the listening audience is that they have to ensure that their applications are completely filled out in order to expedite the process.
And we've recognized that the FA process is a bit rigorous, but we're asking persons to provide 100% of the information so that the officers can make an informed decision regarding whether or not someone will qualify for FA or a supplemental benefit.
Okay. The next person is asking, if a permit holder didn't receive benefit for 5 weeks and now he started getting it bi-weekly, but that 5 weeks is still pending, will that 5 weeks of benefits get paid altogether? Because he was on the island during those 5 weeks unemployed.
I think the benefit begins from when the application was submitted. The payment cycle is not one where it's a weekly payment cycle, and so there is no direct correlation between the 5 weeks and then that person having a 5-week payment cycle at the end of that period. I think that they will be assessed what the persons do, and they will be paid what they're due according to the 2-week payment cycle. I think it's our aim to transition from a weekly payment cycle to a monthly payment cycle, because we have to appreciate that we're transitioning to providing people with health insurance, and health insurance is a monthly benefit rather than a weekly benefit.
Okay, this person has a question. If a individual is currently laid off from their current job, but still getting insurance due to their employers choosing to pay insurance for them, is the employee required to pay back that insurance money back to their employer?
I'm not sure what the agreement was. So some have decided that they will take up 100% of the insurance while a person is laid off. Some with no stipulations, and some there may have been stipulations. And so each situation is handled on its own merit and unique. But what I would say is, if a contract is in place that says that you agree to repay your employer for your portion of health insurance, then you are due to pay your portion after you return back to work.
Okay. And this person is asking, they're an expat, and who is responsible for buying their plane ticket or return fare to their home country?
And so this is another issue that I'll be addressing this evening. It is your employer's responsibility to repatriate you back to work. And if you have changed jobs since you've been in Bermuda, it is your most current employer's responsibility. The only way around that is if a mutual agreement was made between yourself and your employer. But the Act actually states if a mutual agreement is made and you are unable to, you do not have the financial means, it is your current employer's responsibility to ensure that you are repatriated back home.
Okay. And if I am on the unemployment benefits and I get a job, and it's not a well-paying job, but it's menial, do I still have to inform government that I have a little hustle?
Yes, you do. You do have to. So what may happen is a further assessment may need to be done in terms of whether or not there's a reduced payment or whatever it may be. If you're on FA and you get a job, we actually support that, because obviously there's less money that the government is paying out, and we'll determine what benefits you'll need moving forward. And I think this is better flexibility as we move forward for persons who are actually low-income earners, because there will be a better relationship regarding how, when they receive income, them remaining on a benefit for the additional expenses. And actually, we want to promote persons in employment. And so we don't want to discourage persons from employment and remaining unemployed. So our aim is to get everybody back to work. So today, how we best support those persons in the endeavors to get back to work, realizing that they may start with smaller amount of hours now and then transition to 40-hour work weeks.
Okay. This person has made a comment rather than a question, and it's something that you spoke about in previous statements yourself, and I probably bears repeating, but the saying that, Bermudian working persons, we need to be willing to retrain ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Some retraining is needed, but some opportunity is also needed, and Bermudians need access to opportunity. And I don't buy that there's a great level of experience that are needed for every occupational category out there. I don't believe that persons don't possess competency that can transfer from one industry to the next. Recognize that some occupational categories and industries do require a level of experience and training, but that's not across the board. And so we would have to determine which occupational categories persons need additional training and which ones persons just simply need an opportunity to work in those areas.
Okay. No further questions are coming in. Minister, is there anything further you wish to add?
Well, certainly the government, with its social contract with the people, is sure that we provide the services and support that individuals need. What we're doing is not, I recognize, is not going to make everyone happy, but I think that persons can appreciate that we are in uncharted territory and in difficult times. Never in my life have I seen the level of unemployment that I currently see. We thought that more persons would have transitioned back to work after we reopened the economy, but that hasn't happened, and we've seen companies now contract their workforce even farther and have further redundancies. And so what we actually have to do is adjust our strategy to ensure that we are maximizing our resources to get people back to work and ensure that we provide benefit to those people that actually need it.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. All right, thank you all for listening, and stay tuned for the next one. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.